It's been an absolute pleasure to be involved with organising this research week, and there's been such a lot going on. I hope that everyone has had an opportunity to dip in and out of the various presentations and workshops and so on that we've been running. So this is the last session of our research week, and I'm very excited about it. This was a poster competition that we ran in order to give a wider number of people than can possibly have taken part in all the presentations this week. We wanted people to have an opportunity to showcase their work through posters, and so we invited people across the arc, no matter what stage of research they're in, to present their work on a one-page poster. And we had a really encouraging number of entries. I think there were 18 in the end. And we had a small panel of people who took part in judging those posters against a set of criteria that had been we'd been transparent about. I must say the standard of entries was really, really excellent. We had, a really marvellous set of posters, and we've organised it so that all of the posters can be seen on the ARC KSS website in a sort of gallery format. So if any of you haven't already looked at those poster entries, we're going to keep them up on the website, for some time to come, and then we'll probably archive them somehow so that you can still retrieve them. And you will see for yourself what a wonderful array of research we had, from PhD students through to independent researchers, all of a very high standard. And I can genuinely say, I know you see this in all competitions, but I can genuinely say that the judging panel had real difficulty in coming to a final decision. However, we did come to our final decision in the end, and we have two winning entries that are going to present their work for us, just 10 minutes each, just now. And so the winning entry was from Raza Micheletti from the Centre of Health Services Studies at the University of Kent with her colleagues. And this was on a novel digital assessment of a depression pathway. And so I'm going to invite Raza, first of all, to present your poster for us, Raza. And we're all looking forward to hearing about your work. And before we start, congratulations on being the winner of our poster competition. Really excellent work, Raza. Well done, and your team.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me, and can you see the slides?
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present and for introducing the topic already. So as Sally said, although I produced the poster, I'm a small cog in a big evaluation team. So it has been a joint effort from the Centre for Health Services Studies, including Professor Jenny Billings, Dr. Julie McInnes, Dr. Melvis Roberts, who's here with us today, I think, Dr. Ravini Saloniki, Sabrina Jaswell, and myself. And I guess for that reason, an individual award is a spot uncomfortable, but I'm really pleased to have an opportunity to talk to you today about the project. So in terms of the background for both the project and the need to evaluate it, was that common mental health disorders are exactly what it says on the tin. Common. A lot of people experience anxiety and depression at some point in their lives. And the treatment or support often falls to GPs in primary care. However, research shows that success rates of the treatments and support are modest at best. So that showed a clear need for innovative multi-speciality approaches in supporting people living with depression or anxiety. So what happened within this project is that in Faversham, a new multi-speciality walk-in clinic was created specifically for people with low mood or anxiety. And the clinic consisted of GPs offering triage, access to pharmaceutical treatments, etc. There were staff from increased access to psychological therapies, assessing for and offering talking therapies such as counseling. The One Use service were providing lifestyle support and behavior change support. And Pivotal was a digital technology company who offered an app or a website that plugged into the clinic and kind of provided the digital aspect to the support. And what the app did, well, it did quite a few things, but I guess the main aspects of it is that it provided symptom assessment and tracking. Now, many apps can do that for the service user themselves. So I can go online and find quite a few apps that will allow me to test my own depression or anxiety symptoms. But what this app did is it linked up to GP records, which meant that if someone experienced a worsening in their symptoms, the GP had an alert. They could get in touch. Equally, if someone was feeling suicidal or unsafe and express that on the app, the GP and clinic staff again would have an opportunity to support someone and be proactive about it. What the app also offered was a test that shows whether medications such as antidepressants, whether it was working, and the test was able to do so sooner than people on antidepressants that tend to be able to report an improvement. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks to be able to say whether the medication, the type of medication or its dose is working, but the app was able to do that sooner for service users on pharmacological interventions. In terms of methods for the evaluation and evaluating this excellent clinic, we focused on implementation, meaning that we really cared about the process as well as the outcome. And there was an iterative approach of always being in touch with the clinic and its staff. It was an observational feasibility study. We employed mixed methods. The aim was multiple, or there were multiple aims, and we wanted to understand both how well the clinic was working and how it was developing through the initial 6 months of its operation. What service user experiences were of care received of their symptoms and their well-being in general, and what the clinic costs were like. For the quantitative arm of the study, we compared the intervention group with a standard care group on a number of outcomes, including symptom improvement, well-being, and costs. And for the qualitative arm, we talked to people. We conducted lots of interviews with different stakeholder groups, and we did it at several time points, again, to see how things were progressing and how improvement happened or didn't over time. There were lots of findings, but the distilled summary of them would be that after 6 months, people using the clinic felt significantly better than people in the standard care group. Service users attending the clinic really liked the clinic itself. They felt the clinic exceeded their expectations, and on the whole, they liked the app. Even more importantly, now I'm not saying that positive experiences don't matter, but effectiveness matters too. And we found that 2/3 of people experienced an improvement in their condition from a clinical standpoint. And also a third of service users clinically recovered from depression, anxiety, or both. And I guess this will come to no surprise, given that I very briefly described what the clinic looked like, but it was more expensive than standard care. In terms of qualitative information that we've collected and analyzed, I probably don't have the time to tell you a lot about it, but it was incredibly insightful, especially as clinically, we focus on symptoms, but service users rarely describe recovery or living well, even despite experiences of depression or anxiety, in terms of symptoms or scores on a scale. So it was a chance to talk to service users about their own goals, or what living well with depression or an anxiety may look like, and how the clinic could support them through that, which again, the clinic did really well from the perspective of the vast majority of service users, and satisfaction was really high, as were reflections on what it was about the clinic that worked so well. And what we also looked at, so as I said before, we looked at the process as well as the outcome, but we were really interested also in, well, if we were creating a clinic like that elsewhere in the country, what could be replicated? What are the active ingredients that you absolutely must replicate for this to work, as well as what the clinic may need to improve, and also if changes were to happen to the way the clinic worked, what was absolutely essential to retain? You know, again, what would you need to still have a successful clinic, even if other things had to give here and there? And again, we came up with a list of active ingredients that were really crucial for both sustainability and replication, but I'm probably running out of time now. So I'll illustrate perhaps just one to say that options and choice to service users was so really crucial. The majority of people who came to the clinic had experienced depression or anxiety before. This was not the first instance, and they knew what worked. They knew what therapeutic approaches worked. They knew what they needed. So being able to advocate for themselves, to speak up about what the right treatment option was, and also having those options genuinely available to them in a timely fashion was so crucial, as were the other aspects that I don't quite have time to cover. If you want to know more, if this mini presentation has sparked your interest, you could look at the full evaluation report, our executive summary, or our lay summary, all of which you can find just by Googling the report and its title. So thank you very much for listening. I hope I did the project justice, and thank you, Sally, once more for the introduction. And I'm really delighted to have won the poster competition. So thank you.
Thanks, Raza. I think, you know, that was a brilliant presentation that I think really shows the depth of this study, and the way that you managed to present it in the poster, I think came across really well, because we had a range of criteria, but we were looking for really good quality research that fits in obviously with the ARC themes, but we're also looking for, you know, how it's presented and its visual impact and accessibility. And I think that you've demonstrated that extremely well through your poster, but then also through your presentation. So thank you, Raza, and thank you to the rest of the team. I think, you know, if we were all in the room, Raza, we'd give you a round of applause for, you know, an excellent poster, an excellent presentation, and, you know, really wish you well with the next stage of this research, because it's really important, I think, in terms of a kind of looking at how you can use those essential ingredients and, you know, weigh that up with the cost issues and the effectiveness issues for the next stage. So congratulations, and we'll turn now to our next poster presentation. So this was our runner-up award. So again, another excellent piece of work that is also in the realm of accessibility to services, and a very novel approach that Dr. Hassan Naveed from the Ophthalmology Department at the Royal Surrey Foundation Trust is going to present to us. And this is around patient safety, a novel drive-through glaucoma service that was developed during the COVID pandemic. And as I say, I think a really excellent novel approach to enabling accessibility to services while we've been going through such a difficult period in all of our lives. So I'm going to hand over to Hassan, and thank you very much. And also, of course, congratulations to you on being the runner-up in this very competitive poster competition. It's great to see your work, and I do recommend that everybody goes and looks at all of these posters when they have time. So over to you, Hassan. Thank you.
My name's Hassan. I'm an ophthalmology trainee currently based at Royal Surrey, and this project is something that really, it's not a one-man show. I'm just presenting on behalf of my team, Dr. Bianchi, Dr. Hasni, and Mr. Linfield, who was really the brains behind this novel approach during the second lockdown and the lockdown of 2021. So just to give you an idea of what we do in the glaucoma service at the ophthalmology department in Royal Surrey, glaucoma is often regarded as a silent thief of sight. It's a huge disease burden. Often patients are asymptomatic, and really it's important to identify which patients are at high risk and so forth. The disease burden is massive. I mean, we have 15,000 patients under monitoring, and they are subdivided into different risk groups of either they have open angle glaucoma, secondary glaucoma, ocular hypertension, and there are other sub factors which we have to ascertain as to how much risk do they have of progression and sight loss. So classically, these clinics are quite busy clinics. You have to do a lot of measurements, intraocular pressure measurements. You have to do the scan of the nerve. You have to look at the visual field of the patient, physically look at the angle of the eye where the drainage happens. Is there a structural abnormality? You can't basically gauge what the person's risk is over the phone. The phone follow-up doesn't work for us, but we were mandated to actually convert to phone versions. So telemedicine was implemented, and we had to find out a way of what can we do to get a glimpse of our patients' risks without actually using the current telemedicine method, but try and sort of adapt. So then came the idea of our sort of current, we had to sort of do something different. The problem with the phone system was that, most patients are asymptomatic. There's large waiting lists. There's a huge backlog. Often you phone them and it's sort of subjective. Actually, my vision is okay. I'm still taking my drops. What more can you glean from the phone conversation for a glaucoma patient? Very, very difficult. There was also a sense of concern from patients because you've had lots of lockdowns happening. You've had lots, patients are concerned. They think that there's a risk, obviously, presenting to hospital for this. So usually, life over sight was the general perception, and patients often, through fear, wouldn't turn up. So we really had to sort of address these concerns. And what we thought was a good way of doing it was to consider a drive-through glaucoma clinic where we can actually have patients drive around and we can measure their pressures. So this is our colleague, Dr. Hasni, who is taking an eye pressure in the car, and this is how we did it. We had to acquire this special machine called the iCare, which is a mobile pressure measuring device. And really, it's a testament to our trust, who basically just turned around within a week, and we had acquired the site, the staff, and everything sort of was arranged to make sure that we had a little tent and the adjacent. We shared it with the pharmacy to get our notes there, and really the clinic started within a week or two. Really, it was really fast like that. This is just to show you how the machine works. Basically, a little applanation sort of bit that comes out. Patient doesn't need anesthetic, and it just measures it straight away and gives you a number. Basically, you can repeat it 3 times and take an average, and it gives you an objective idea of what the pressure is, and it is fairly accurate. So this was our model. We basically acquired an outside area with dedicated parking, so where the patients would come. We sent reminders to our patients of where to come for this. So they were sent messages on text. If patients had their appointments coming up and they weren't able, we actually tried to contact them as well. So there was a lot of work that went behind the scenes. Patients then, when the clinics started, would drive up, window down, and there was a member of staff just measuring the eye pressure. That member of staff had a walkie-talkie through which they fed back to the other staff member, who would be another doctor usually, in the cabin with the patient's notes, and you would note down what the pressure was, and you would have the details of their previous parameters, and you would sort of ascertain their risk progression. And on the basis of that, you would make the clinical decision. And the decisions were continue on treatment, change treatment, or actually, you need to park your car and come in, and we need to properly see you because you've got a high risk and we need to do something about this. So the snapshot results of our practice for that 3-month period was we saw 358 patients, 51 required action. We actually detected 4 patients with dangerously high pressures that needed something doing straight away. And really, most of the times we actually do these things in clinic as well. So the idea that we were able to safely deliver this and get some results, it was extremely satisfying. And it was it's actually evident through the survey that we did. We sent a survey to 200 of our patients. We had 82 respondents, and really, they all gave us a 9 out of 10 rating. They all felt this was a more safe way of measuring their pressure and actually getting an idea of their condition. They did prefer the drive-through through telephone. And in essence, in conclusion, what I want to just say is that this basically just shows that, if we think outside the box and work collectively, we can really come up with new ways of delivering care. We actually saw more patients in the drive-through clinic than we would in a clinic setting, and whilst maintaining safety, whilst maintaining patient satisfaction, and also detecting their clinical parameters. So really, I thank you for giving us the runner-up prize for this, and I also thank my team members for incorporating me into this team to really deliver this project and actually share this with all of you today. So thank you very much for listening. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks so much, Hassan. I think, it's just such a brilliant example of how, as a clinical team, you had to respond rapidly to this need during the COVID pandemic, how well it responds to the patient need as well as to the clinical imperative. So, I think it's a really great example, and your poster really brought that out, I think, very strongly, and the judges were really, really pleased to be able to see how within the ARC this kind of work is going on during such critical times. So thank you. And again, the kind of visual impact as well as the research quality, I think really, really came across. So as I've said, the posters are all there to be viewed on the website for anyone who wants to go back to them.